Hello and welcome to another episode of the IDS podcast, and we are going virtual again one more time this season for a episode with Jenna Gaidusek, and I really hope I pronounced your name right because I know you for like a year plus now, and I probably still screw it up. But you were on last year, and you're one of the only repeat guests we're doing because we discussed tech and essentially tech and AI, and I think it's important for people to kind of hear what's been happening in the last year, and the technology is changing so quickly. So I think it's important that we kind of cover new things that interior designers can utilize in their workflow. And we received a ton of questions and a lot of feedback from our last episode, but a lot of that stuff I feel like may or may not even be relevant anymore. So I think it's important to cover some of those tactics. So in case people though did not hear your background, and I know we went into detail about it last time, so if somebody really wants to go in depth, like they can go back and listen to last season's episode, but just give us the 30-second version of how you got where you are now to teaching AI for interior designers.
Okay, so thanks for having me back. Love IDS, of course, and your chapter is great. We have a new chapter here in Charleston that launched in the past year, and I'm on the board for that too. So always love
That's great.
Yeah, always love to connect with IDS in different chapters. So my background is, I have a design degree. I went to school in upstate New York and moved all around after that, following a career path after design school in high-end furniture, and it just kind of moved me everywhere, which took us back to New York. And I was living in the city at the time, and had recently just had our daughter, and it was a time where I was like, I can't keep commuting into the city and doing all of this right now. So I pursued virtual design, which was always a passion of mine because technology and design are just my favorite things. So going virtually in 2016 was something that a lot of people were not doing, and it was very much looked down upon at the time because people thought it was cheaper design. But I just like to find different solutions for tech to shave off time doing things that we don't need to be doing, like traveling constantly and getting, just always out and about. Like I just wanted to streamline that kind of process. So my journey with eDesign, then took me to develop other tools, and they were acquired by Midoma Studio in 2022. And then I got time back to focus on my design business and exploring AI tools. So that is when I started in 2023. The first class for AI for interior designers, which is my company. And then it's just been what is the latest and greatest ever since. So just trying to keep up with it all for the past 2 years.
All right, cool. So let's just dive into it because there's some there's tons of stuff to speak about, and I think all these new tools that are coming out are really, really exciting. But instead of, let's not start with specific tools and different stuff, but just in general, what kind of leaps has AI taken specifically for the design world in the last year since we spoke, or even the last few months, because I think a year is a long time in the way this technology evolves so quickly. So in general, like I said, not specific, we'll get into specifics, but in general, what's changing?
Yeah, so I mean, a year ago, the visuals were definitely subpar. Now they're insanely photorealistic, and we also have video like now on the market where it's, taking your photography of exact projects and maintaining the integrity of that and then turning it into a short little video clip without making it weird and AI looking like it was a year ago, So the imagery in the video is definitely light years from where it was when we first talked about this. And then just large language models like ChatGPT have just gotten smarter. It's less of the back and forth and the silly little answers. They're definitely not perfect, but the intelligence level is insane compared to when we talked a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still noticing, and I use mostly sort of ChatGPT for my visuals, but I'm also not doing visuals like you might be as an interior designer with renderings and stuff. But I've started actually using ChatGPT to do some of my editing where maybe the Photoshop generative fill or generative AI doesn't come in and It's not there yet, but I'm also asking it for very specific, complex stuff. If it's something that I can't physically do in Photoshop, then I'll go there. But I feel like if I can't do it in Photoshop on my own, then it must be something that's kind of way out there. Like the perfect example, this past week, I did a shoot in Vegas last week, and we shot at like 11 a.m. On the Vegas Strip. So the windows of the store, all you saw was reflection of the hotels behind me. You just couldn't see anything, and my client didn't like it. And I was able to sort of use a night shot that they sent me and edit the windows into there, but then they wanted to turn the whole thing into like a twilight sunset night shot, and I asked ChatGPT to do it, and it looked absolutely awful.
Yeah.
So it's not there. It's not there yet. But it'll get there. I know it will. So.
Yep.
So what kind of tool, what has surprised you the most in the past year since we last spoke about something you weren't expecting about the technology and the way it could be utilized?
Well, first of all, like just the speed in which everything is changing. Like I do this and I feel like I can't keep up with how fast everything's changing. That and, with the larger companies, especially ChatGPT coming out with really big updates, it eliminates a lot of these smaller programs. So a lot of these like startups that were really good at doing one specific thing using AI have like become obsolete really, really quickly. So we're starting to see these bigger companies kind of take over and put these smaller companies that are now redundant and you don't need to pay for a subscription for them because you're already paying $20 for ChatGPT and it can do that. So we're seeing a lot of consolidation as these companies grow, which makes me start to pivot towards my, what am I using most for my business? Is that Google Gemini? Is that Microsoft Copilot? And then of course always Perplexity and ChatGPT with everything. So I'm trying to focus, my business and then for other firms that I work with to consolidate and look at the large language models that they already use inside of their day-to-day. So for me, that's Google Gemini inside of my Gmail, and it's honestly pretty amazing if you don't use Google Gemini yet.
It's funny, I don't, but I keep hearing positive things about it. And, I use Google Workspace, so I don't use Gmail directly, but my email is all connected through Google. But I use like a mail client, so I'm assuming in order to get the full functionality of Gemini, though, I'd have to start using it web-based. Is that?
Yes and no. So Gemini, you can just go to like the google.gemini, or I could have it backwards. And as long as you've got your email hooked up, and sometimes it could just be your regular Gmail, and then you upgrade to Pro. But you can just go to the top right-hand corner in your menu tab, and then you'll see all of your G Suite options, and then Gemini will be there. But I love how it's infused also in like the spreadsheets or the documents. And my favorite part is when I open up in my browser, my Gmail, and then I am reading an email, and then I click on the Gemini icon in the top, it'll give me a summary of the entire thread. So everything that I've talked about in that email, it's going to be like, here's all your conversations, and then it'll consolidate and summarize all of that. And so a example of why I really love this is because I, despise putting things in my calendar because it takes time, right? So like some of us have assistants that just do that. Now, if I'm in an email and somebody says, here's the dates for blah, 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 I open up the side panel and I just say, add this to my calendar. It'll give me a preview, I'll look at it, and then it'll add it to my Google Calendar for me based off the context in the email.
No, that's great, and that's time saving, and I agree. I hate doing that. I at this point, I'm Apple, and I know you're like anti-Apple, but I just ask Siri to put something in my calendar because I'm not going to sit there and just type it in. It's a pain, but I need to start utilizing Gemini more, and I really don't fully comprehend the capabilities of it, but I'm using Google Workspace for multiple businesses, and even my CRM that I'm using to run my studio uses Google Workspace integration. So I do know that they're trying to utilize AI through, I guess, ChatGPT's API, and we're probably going over everyone's head now. But, they're trying to utilize ChatGPT and Gemini into the CRM to start becoming smarter. So it's pretty cool what's happening.
Yeah.
But let's get back to it, because I think for most designers, they're completely lost with what we were just talking about. So let's talk about some of the actual new tools that are changing the game. I know you said, ChatGPT, for instance, or Perplexity are getting better where you don't need these secondary tools. But on a day-to-day basis, as an interior designer, not as an AI expert, but as an interior designer, what are some tools that you might be using?
So I'm going back to the fundamentals. Like, I don't need everything under the sun, and that's what I'm kind of telling designers too. I test these things, but they're not all necessary. You don't need all the shiny new tools that are out there. I say start with what you have, because now we're seeing Microsoft Copilot's getting really good. So if you're a Microsoft user, look for just the little Spark integrations inside of that for your day-to-day to start to like shave off, 10 minutes of like, this could have taken this long to do this task, but I just asked my Copilot or Gemini to do it for me. So these tools that are built into your existing workflow, start there if you're looking for something simple. And then ChatGPT, of course, and Perplexity for research. But the thing that I really love lately in all of those tools that I just mentioned is the deep research. Have you done any deep research lately?
No.
No? Okay, so this is awesome.
Like, is that, do you mean just like researching a specific topic?
No, it's called literally deep research.
And that's
yeah.
what
all of those, they all have that now. So some of them you'll have to be on Pro to be able to access that. Some of them you'll get a few, 5 or something a month, and you get to use them. So ChatGPT, we'll start there with the deep research in ChatGPT. So when you start a prompt, okay, you can, you're going to see now these little options that says like deep research right underneath it. And then you can connect tools.
Yeah, I see it. It's right there.
You see
under
it?
Tools. Yeah.
Yep. So the tools that you can connect for deep research are things that are like your calendar, your Gmail, your Dropbox, your Google Drive, wherever. There's a ton of different connectors. Okay, that's what they call them in the program. So when you go to prompt, you select deep research, and then you select the connector that you've already hooked up that you want to add there. So deep research not only can pull from a web search, but also the context in which you are giving it permission to view. Okay, so every single time you use deep research, you specifically have to give permission. It doesn't just always have permission to those to access your files. So you ask a specific question, you ask for, it to analyze something or to look at something specific. So for instance, I did deep research in my Gmail, in my inbox, and in my calendar for the IDS national conference that I'll be speaking at. So I looked at everything that came from the national office that was talking about the event. And also I said, go look at this website that has the landing page information on it. Now what I want you to do is write my itinerary for me. Tell me when I need to book my flights, any cool things I should do while I'm out there, and then, my hotel stay, all this stuff. I need you to basically put together my itinerary. So using the deep research, it got into my inbox, looked at everything from national and like where I need to be for speaker stuff, what my topics are, and then what the overall agenda is. And then I put it together for me like an assistant would for my travel details. But it took everything that I had and the internet information. And that's kind of how deep research works, is that you give it permission to look at folders or specific things inside of your programs, but it also takes context from everywhere else. And they take like 6 to 8 minutes, if not longer, to do the search. It's very thorough. So that's on ChatGPT, but you can do this. I love deep research also in Google Gemini. Like, it's insane. And if I had to choose right now, it would be Gemini over ChatGPT for that type of thing.
Do you have to specify, let's say, if you're deep researching your email, what emails to look at, or to just pick it up exactly? Because
better results.
I'm just thinking of possible scenarios for myself, and obviously I'm not an interior designer. It's a little different. But for instance, I have a GPT that basically proofreads my emails before I send them back to clients, and it just polishes them up in my brand voice, whatever. And if I can then deep research my email so it actually picks up that original inquiry form, so it can see what the client's looking for, and then adjust my email accordingly before I send it if it needs to add some things based on their requirements that I forgot to add. It's I guess a bigger use case for that deep research.
It could. I feel like that might be a better use case for the internal Gemini because that is giving you like the side panel of that email already. So it's already inside. But if you had like a ton of scattered emails from that one client and they're not all in one thread, then yes, deep research would be a great option for that.
No, but that's good even to ask questions because I do that. I do that also like and I'm sure most people do that on a lot of projects where, let's say you're on a project for a year plus and you just have hundreds of scattered
Yeah.
emails all over the place, and you can specify, hey, I need to find what we spoke about in this specific time, check all my emails from the client, and then it can just do that research for you. So that's pretty
Exactly.
neat. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
Let's I think last time we spoke about using AI for to speed up both rendering and obviously brainstorming, which is a little bit different, which is more of like, I guess, the business side and helping you work through your business. But I want to talk about a little bit of the you kind of got into it briefly, but a little bit more of the creative possibilities. And you started mentioning photos to videos, and there's text to video now. So I mean, have you experimented with text to video, or is it pretty much photo to video? And I guess photo to video makes more sense, or render to video for what interior designers are doing versus text. But I mean, even with text, if you're able to specify with links and this and that, I want to use this couch, this color, this, that, and then potentially produce a video of the room, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and we'll be there soon. So there's two different things that in what you just said. So let's talk about where we're at with imagery first, because that's more advanced than video, but video is coming really, really fast like that. So for accuracy right now, let's say you wanted to take a design board or some, maybe you've got a fabric and a frame and you want to make a mock-up. You can make those in ChatGPT right now, okay? Just by chatting. So you can't really say like, here's the link. It does help, but ChatGPT can't go grab images from a website. So you do need to paste those in the chat, and then give like repeat and sizes, and that's what the links are helpful for. But let's say you've got a design board, you can also supplement that design board with a spreadsheet or links or whatever to the actual products as long as they're public on the site. And then you can basically say, here's the floor plan, here's the layout, create a mock-up using the products that you see here. And the accuracy is pretty good. I mean, it is not anything that I would use as here's your scaled, go make this type of thing, but to be able to convey a flat 2D concept board and be like, here it is in 3 dimensions, and then with that 3-dimension board that you can create, so like, a photo looking board from a concept that you've created in ChatGPT, I then would take that actually into Mid-Journey at this point in time for accuracy with video. Sora, which is part of OpenAI and ChatGPT, not doing it for me right now. Runway is a good secondary option, but Mid-Journey is really good at keeping the integrity of the photo and then doing a really nice little fly through of that space.
Cool. And I mean, do you see designers using this for their presentations and all that stuff? Or?
Not yet. We're just getting there, like this is something that I think a lot of designers are like, okay, well, that's cool. And then in a year, we'll see designers start doing this more, like this is just kind of the beginning of it. And they're starting to get excited about it because it's starting to get more accurate. Before that, they were like, why waste my time? Which I don't blame them. Like that's my job, is to figure out when it's time for you to actually jump in and actually use this stuff when it's not a waste of time for you. And we're getting there with video. But for imagery, it's really good right now at being able to convey your ideas and get the yes and close the design faster. And then be able to move on to like actual accurate renderings, CAD drawings, all that stuff. It does not replace that, but it can enhance any of those graphics that you're currently creating too by running them through programs. ChatGPT is helpful to enhance your renders. I have another program that I like to use. It's My Architect AI. That one is almost 99% accurate when you run a rendering or a elevation through to keep the integrity of what you see in the photo. And then there's another program called ArchSynth, ArchSynth, that has a lot of tools like that can help too.
Cool. What about AI infused AR for people, I guess, that don't know, augmented reality? And is that something that's Because I see that more for use in like showrooms and furniture
Yep.
spots, stuff like that. But I know. I guess for years, it's even before AI became big, augmented reality has been used, but not great. I would imagine with the use of AI now, some of that augmented reality stuff is probably incredible.
Yeah, in a different capacity too. So for the longest time, I've been asking, furniture companies to create 3D models that we can just use in our designs, right? So why would we have to keep creating these models to sell your product, right? Every single time. There's hundreds of designers, just create one freaking model. But they don't. So now the cool thing is that we can take 1 to 3 images of that product of all different angles on a white background, and we can turn it into our own AR and 3D model. Okay, so there's a program that I prefer. It's called Amazing XR with an M. I do have a tool list. I'll give that to you. It's free. It's on my site, and I've got it linked there. But that program will literally take 1 to 3 images and then convert it into an AR model so that your client can see that product in a matter of 90 seconds in their room with them. But you can also download the file and import it into your rendering. So like SketchUp, Cheap, whatever. And then you've got the full model that you can use. Now, is it 100% accurate? No, but we're getting there. And this is where I'm seeing really fast field work where we can like bring the computer into real life. And you can, create mock-ups too. So like if you create a sofa that doesn't exist yet in a fabric that you want to see and create a 3D model of it instantly, like that is game changing, and that exists now.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. All right, I'm going to transition to some of the boring stuff that probably nobody wants to hear about, but I do think it's important to cover it, and that's, I guess, IP and ethics and all that fun stuff. I think it's important to talk
Yep.
about. Since we spoke last year, I mean, what have been updates in, I guess, copyright law or platform policies? I know Adobe changed their terms of service that designers should know about utilizing AI nowadays.
Yep. Yeah, I do like Adobe because they are trying to do things ethically. They're not going out and open sourcing all of their, visuals that they're training their models on. They have been using their stock imagery, their stock, video, and then if you get permission, your work as well. So I like that that's closed, but also it set them back. Like their quality of things is just like a year behind ChatGPT and other places that got their information from wherever. And so that's kind of the caveat that these programs come with. It's like, do you want something that's better and fast but was trained probably not ethically? And then there's the flip side, which is like, you go to Adobe and you know where everything came from. So when it comes to like what I can control with my day to day, I have a few, lines in the sand, and these have not changed since we talked last. I don't use other designers' work. Unless if I like strictly say during a call, can I use this? And then I don't show anybody afterwards because that's not my work. That's not something that I feel like I have the right to share with anybody. So I don't run other designers' work through any of these models because the result is going to look almost exactly like their original work. Whereas if you don't do that and you use word prompts or your own work, it maintains more integrity in the output because these models, though they were trained on all of these images, the output is going to be a compilation of like what you have requested and then like millions of images compiled back together, so it's not saving everybody's stuff like somewhere in this inventory list. It is working off zeros and ones to recreate and predict what you wanted to create. So that's always kind of an interesting ethical conversation as to like, are they storing images and stuff, but just be on the up and up and don't use somebody else's if you don't own it. Just use your own things.
And I think it's important. You've always said, and I don't think that's changed. Always disclosed that some of this work is AI generated.
For
And
sure.
so, if that's the case, what's the best practice for designers to sort of disclose that this is AI work, but for the client to not think, all right, well, this is AI. They didn't really put much effort into this.
Yeah, great question, because storytelling has never been more critical in a designer or service in general. than it is right now, because AI is taking over. Like I showed up every day last year on Instagram, and this year I don't really want to even be on Instagram because everything is fake in AI and it's bad AI. So like I don't want to be there because I feel like it's losing the personal touch, which is just going to show that designers need to put their story out there. Why did you create that AI image that you're sharing, right? Like, how did that help you in your design process for your client? That's a story you should be sharing with your AI image. You're not trying to hide and say, this is my work and claim it as not AI. You're putting it out there to say, I am a tech-forward designer. And part of my process to convey my design concept is to show this format of mock-up using AI. And this is how it helped to connect with my client so that she could see the design before we wasted 8 hours rendering it for her to say, no, that's not it. And then spend, another 12 hours working on that render. This is cutting out time. This is saving everybody time and money. So if they explain that through storytelling on social media, that is 100% acceptable. But if you just throw an AI image up there and, try and be deceitful about it, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt.
Yeah. Well, how does the law, I mean, this might be a better question for an attorney, but how does the law work in regards to work you create using AI and intellectual property and copyright? Because I feel like that's a big point for designers who are using AI to create these renders. They want to make sure that they somehow own the intellectual property, especially if they're putting it out there. But, it was created basically automatically, not automatically, but it was created for them using these platforms.
My understanding is that we own none of that. None of it. And please talk to an attorney about that because it's constantly changing too. But, even if it's like, it's just prompting, it's just words. So from my understanding, like, we don't own those things. However, if you were to take your own original photo and then use AI to enhance certain parts of it, as long as you can show, like, here's the original, here's what I did, and step by step, if it ever does go to litigation, then you at least have, like, the paper trail to show this is my original work, and then here is, where AI was enhancing it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's probably a different conversation for another day and more in depth with an attorney, which might be a good idea down the line. But, I know a few artists who basically use AI to create their work and they sell it. And it's interesting because if they legally don't own the IP to that work, are they violating some sort of copyright law?
That's the question, honestly. Like, we're not really there yet, but again, I'm not an attorney. That's my sister, and that's not her area of law. So we'd have to ask somebody because it's crazy out there right now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's segue into using AI, which is, I guess, the basis of what you teach, and obviously a little bit of rendering and stuff like that, but just smarter automations and workflow tips. So, what kind of new automation tools or assistants have you sort of built or are you using on your day-to-day design business?
Probably not what people would think. It's Canva. Canva right now is like, they did some spring updates and it's just like massive what this tool can do. So, between the integrations of like other apps that integrate with it, I actually started recently turning all of my proposals and presentations into websites, so landing pages, because I don't want people to keep sending me PDFs. Like, I will download them, I will lose them, and then keep clogging up my computer or phone with all these stupid PDFs. So I have now converted all of these into full-blown websites through Canva. So now I just send a link, I can update it in real time, and we don't have like version 1 PDF, version 2 PDF that everybody's constantly losing. So now it's just real-time updating inside of Canva, and that takes actually a lot of different tools out of the mix that you would have to pay for separately, because they have like docs inside, you can do sheets inside, and then all of your presentation decks and landing pages. So the consolidation of tools inside of Canva for creatives and designers is honestly a really almost like low-hanging fruit and a good place to start if you are trying to get into AI and don't really know where to start and you're already using Canva. Check out some of their AI.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm surprised, and I'm just, obviously comparing it to what I do, but when I send out proposals, that stuff has all been web-based for years on my end.
Yep.
So is that something that the interior design community is just starting to catch up to now? I've been sending out proposals and e-contracts for at least 10 years now at this point. All
Yep.
web-based, all through the web. Um, so I guess you're using Canva to play catch up.
No, they're using templates. So proposals, are I send mine through my Doma typically, so like we have those types of programs and then it's legally binding, you can get everything signed. But designers create a lot of their design boards and templates for proposals because they want them to look pretty. So templates for everything, we've been notoriously building all of that in Canva. So now taking what we already have as presentation deck slides and then just making it into a long landing page and then integrating type forms or the quizzes that are now inside of Canva, you can collect information right on that page. So yes, we have been using technology for a while too for those types of things, but they've been inside of our project management tools.
Okay, what about besides actual proposals? I mean, is there any AI built into interior designer CRMs? And I don't know what I guess the standard is for interior designers for CRMs, but just to help with organization of their databases, organization of their products, client interactions, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of all over the map right now, and this comes back to consolidating with what you already use. So I'll give you an example and this is a little bit off, but I'll come back. I use Loom. So Loom is something that I've used for probably 6 years now to shoot videos on my computer. Or just upload videos that I've created and then put them into Loom. So every single video in my program called The Daily, which is on-demand searchable AI training videos, was shot in Loom, and it creates like an outline. You can interact with it, you can chat in the videos, all that stuff. But Loom has actually become also my note taker. So every time I jump in a Zoom meeting or a Google Hangout, it joins me if it was on my calendar. So previously I was using Fathom or Lindy. There's also Otter out there. I was using all of those because it records it, gives you the transcript, and then a really nice summary. But I'm already paying for Loom. So now Loom joins me and records the meeting, puts it in my Loom library, and then immediately sends the most detailed information that I've gotten out of all of these programs to me and to the other people that were on the call. So it's an auto replier. Now, people are also taking these notes and putting them into their CRM or, Canva. If you have a presentation that you're working on for a client, now you can add these notes from the transcript to your project as a doc. But we're basically taking that information, whether it's automated or manual, from our phone calls and then putting it into portions of our project so that we have action items moving us forward.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about sourcing. Have the sourcing tools that you utilize using AI, have they become more accurate? I mean, are some of these new platforms pulling better live vendor data, stuff like that?
Yes and no. Deep research is going to be your best friend for this because if you don't use deep research, you're going to get very generic, like reverse image on Google. You know how you get like just junk?
Yeah.
Like it's not trade stuff. It's kind of like that. If you just put in a design board or something into ChatGPT and you just say, hey, go find similar solutions to what you see here, it's going to give you like Wayfair, Amazon, that type of stuff. Occasionally you'll get a trade product, but if you do a deep research and maybe you have your own product list or vendor list, you can upload that with it and say, go to this site, find alternatives for this. So here's an example of how I've used deep research through Gemini. I took an old spreadsheet of products that we specified for a new build in Florida about 9 months ago. And I was like, I'm just curious, like what's still in stock? We've already installed it, but I was just curious. So I put that in there and I said, tell me what's currently in stock from this list, what is out of stock entirely and needs to be replaced, and then give me smart replacements and where to go find them. Here's the sources that I want you to look at. So I did that. It literally said, here's all the things that are out of stock, here's all the things that are pending, stock, and then here are solutions for all the items that are out of stock.
Cool. I mean, it's incredible. So
yeah, it's a game changer. It's not perfect, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we'll be there soon.
Yep.
Okay, we're getting low on time, so I want to kind of finish off with this last topic about marketing and branding, because I think that's important. How has your approach to AI-generated marketing content, evolved over the last year since we spoke?
So I write all my own captions on Instagram. I just feel like it needs to be, from me, because social media is a social place. And so seeing all of these fake AI posts and captions, I scroll by them. I don't care anymore. Like I don't feel like they're genuine. So for me,
They don't sound human.
they don't sound human, and
I'm
also
guilty
the
of using
people.
them, but they don't sound human.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. And it's not that I'm reading all the captions, right? I don't think a lot of us do, but if it's something that's interesting, I want to see it. And I don't want to see 20 emojis. Like, I just want to read it. And I want it to be from you. So I do a lot of voice to text for everything that I do. Like, I do a lot of voice to text, and then I take my things that I said, which was just like a stream of consciousness, and it's all over the map, and I just have AI clean it up for me, and I say, just rewrite this so it sounds better. So I do that for my captions as well. But personally, I'm exhausted from the AI on social media right now because it's so bad and careless.
It is.
So I hope that it's going to get better soon so I can come back, because I really don't like being there. It's just like trash.
But I do, honestly, I do like your approach better, and maybe it's something I'm going to give a try, because I do have, I created a custom GPT where I'll just upload images I'm about to post and have ChatGPT create a caption for me. And most of the time it's not something I would ever write or speak like, or talking about the finer details of some of the lighting or products in the images. And from a photography standpoint, I don't even care about that stuff. So I do like the approach, because I feel like I can speak my thoughts clearer out loud versus type a caption down that I think people will want to hear. But if I just talk about the project for a minute and then just say, okay, make a caption out of this, that sounds like me, it'll do a much better job than just talking about nonsense.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Voice and transcripts are gold for repurposing and actually sounding like you.
Yeah, no, so that's a good idea. I'm going to approach that. What about, blogs or using AI for some of your SEO? And I'm assuming most designers are not really doing their own SEO. They're more concerned with their design work. But I think it does happen occasionally. But I think, information you might be able to provide is stuff they might be able to pass along to their web people. So how has that evolved, using it for blog posts? And I guess blog posts can be similar to social media content in the sense that, I do get a lot of blog post content that sounds very AI generated, where maybe I will actually do the same thing. I'll have to speak for a couple more minutes, but at least I'll be able to get a decent blog post out of it that sounds human. But what about using that, or even SEO for their own websites?
Yeah, so a few things on that. First of all, I use the transcriber in my notebook, like on my phone. So if you want to write a blog post, come at it from you talking to your transcriber, take your transcript, and then say, rewrite this as an SEO optimized blog post for me. Okay, so don't have it write for you. It doesn't know what you know. And what we're finding is that AI search engines, so, we don't just Google stuff anymore. Like, that's pretty much dead. Like, AI Google, like Gemini search is where it's at. Like, chat-based research is the future, okay? So the way that we've always Googled for the past 20 years, we're not doing that anymore. We don't just ask a question and then walk away with the top results that paid to be there. Now we actually want to know, like, what's a legitimate and, what's the word I'm looking for? Professional person that can weigh in on this topic. So that is what these new AI searches like Perplexity, Gemini, deep research in any of these tools, that's what they're looking for, is authority in the space. So if you come at it with, here's my project, here's what I did, and then basically just like say all of those things and then have it write it for you in a way that is SEO optimized for these search results, which is actually a question and answer format. Okay, so like think of how you ask ChatGPT questions. It's a full sentence typically, or a paragraph. It's not just where's the closest, supermarket, like you would ask on Google, right? So with these, you're having a full-blown conversation for context, and those full questions are really good for new formatted blogs because they're going to populate as this person speaks from authority in this space. They know what they're talking about because here's firsthand, design demonstrations in this post with examples of real world experience. And also it's formatting to answer and show up more in those search results versus, Google, which is more short tail, keywords, and phrases.
Yeah, I wonder, and I'm just thinking out loud here, and this may or may not be relevant for designers at all, but, with regular Google searching, like you said, a lot of it's paid search results, and it's typically whoever has the highest amount per click gets shown. I wonder if searching through Gemini, meaning will you be able to pay less for Google Ads using Gemini to search because it does actually realize what's more relevant to you than just who's paying the most?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because Google's search, even just general search, has now really infused the continuation of conversations, as of recently. So what we're seeing is 0 clicks with those, meaning that it's now summarizing the results and it's not sending people to your website anymore. It's just summarizing what you need to know. So these other platforms like Perplexity, it's like, here's what you need to know, but here's where I got that information. So go read more. Those types of things are what people are gravitating towards right now.
Okay, cool. Okay, so just to wrap up, I'm going to sort of close with, I guess, 2 questions. For designers that are still hesitant about making that leap, and I know we went through this last year, and if you listened to this last year and you still didn't make that leap, go act now. But what's the easiest sort of low risk way of getting started with AI? I know you mentioned Canva.
Yeah, Canva, if you're already using it, is great. ChatGPT, not the free version. You're just paying to train their models. So getting the $20 a month is going to pay for itself immediately. But just look at what you're using on a day-to-day basis. So if your email is through Microsoft, go look at Copilot. If your email is through Google, go look at Google Gemini. Start with what you're already using and look for those little spark, but it's a spark emoji. So it's like a little star looking thing. That's a good indicator that your program already has AI inside, or sometimes they've got their own little icons. So just in your day-to-day, see what's already infused in your tools. That's the best place to start.
Cool. And a final question. What do you sort of see, I guess, in the next year that designers can start prepping for now? So when this stuff is here, they're ready to go.
Agents are what's coming, and basically agents are next level custom GPTs, but you can get them to all work together to do a specific task for you. So you basically say, here's what I need done, here's some context, here's where I want you to look for this information, and it will just go and do it for you. So that's next.
That's
whatever that is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. Voice agents are coming out all over the place.
Oh
now.
yeah.
I was talking to somebody. We interviewed somebody earlier in the season, and he has a moving and storage company, and he's created voice agents now because he works with interior designers. So when a product comes in that may or may not be damaged, it automatically calls the interior designer, has a conversation. Do you want us to repair it at house? What do you want to do? Would you like us to send it back? All voice. And he was telling me that these voice agents he created, he's now selling to other companies too, including restaurants, that restaurants can now literally take your order all through AI voice agents. They can reserve you a table all through AI. And I guess maybe for better or worse, eliminating the need for people on the phone. I guess that's a different conversation for better or for worse. But but yeah, the fact of the matter is the technology is getting crazy. So even, for there's just so many utilities, even for me to just confirm shoots, get details about projects before I go and shoot, just to have a voice. If I have sort of a questionnaire that I can say to the voice agent, hey, this is what I need to find out. Go have a conversation with the client and come back to me with the answers. So it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy world we're living in.
It is. Those are getting really popular right now in a lot of different agencies. So I don't trust any phone calls. Definitely have a safe word with your family in case if you get hacked. And because they're calling from people's phone numbers now directly, like their actual phone number, and they sound like you. So just make sure you've got that family code word and stay safe out there.
I hear. All right, Jenna. Well, thanks for coming on again. For anybody interested, AI for interior designers. You have tons of stuff out there: workshops, presentations, courses, daily stuff. I mean, you want to plug
Yeah,
yourself for a minute, talk about what you have.
yeah, that's it. AI
All
for
right,
interior
great.
designers.com. We do have an Instagram. You can follow me on my personal one, though I don't show up all the time there. I do have the other AI for Interior Designers one. Workshops, I've got the daily program, which is $29.99 a month, and you get unlimited access to all of my videos. And then I do in-person events a lot, too. So I will be at High Point, and I will be having AI Day again, this time before market starts on Friday. So that'll be coming up
Amazing.
soon.
And I hear I might be seeing you at a photography conference in the next couple of
I
months. So
told
I'm
him I will
excited
be
for
there.
that.
It's on my calendar.
All right, awesome. All right, well, thanks again. Appreciate it. And
Thanks, Brian.
hopefully a year from now, we'll revisit this for
Awesome.
3.0,
Sounds
because
good.
a lot of this will be obsolete at that
So
point. So,
obsolete. Yep. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
all right, then.